The station called Concordia Prime floated in the darkness of space like a giant crystal. It was bigger than Earth's moon. Lights sparkled across its surface, marking where thousands of different alien species lived and worked together. This was the center of galactic power, the place where the Council made all the important decisions. Dae-jung stood at the window of the human transport ship and stared at the massive station. His reflection looked back at him in the glass. He looked tired. The journey from Earth had taken 3 months, even with the new faster-than-light engines. Behind him, his team of 9 other humans checked their equipment one last time. "It's beautiful," Jiwoo said, coming to stand beside him. She was his second-in-command, an engineer who could solve any technical problem. "Hard to believe something so pretty could be so dangerous." "Every beautiful thing in the galaxy has teeth," Dae-jung replied. He had studied the Council's history for 2 years, preparing for this moment. The history books made one thing very clear. The Council did not accept weakness. The transport ship docked with a soft clang. The airlock opened and the human team walked into Concordia Prime for the first time. The corridor was huge. The ceiling stretched up so high that Dae-jung could barely see it. Hundreds of different aliens walked past them. Some had fur, some had scales. Some were made of living crystal or floating energy. None of them looked at the humans for more than a second. "They don't seem impressed," Hyunwoo whispered. The linguist had learned 47 alien languages to prepare for this trip. "I heard some of them talking. They called us the primitives." "Let them talk," Hanul said. The communications officer smiled, but her eyes were cold. "We'll show them what primitives can do." A robot guide led them through the station. They passed gardens where plants grew in colors that hurt human eyes. They walked through markets where aliens traded things that humans had no words for. Finally, they reached the testing chamber. The chamber was a perfect sphere 500 meters across. The walls glowed with a soft blue light. In the center floated a platform where the human team would work. Around the edges, thousands of seats rose up in circles. Every seat was full. The entire galaxy had come to watch Earth's test. "So many," Bora breathed. The scientist gripped her data pad tighter. "They all came to see us fail. Or succeed," Dae-jung corrected her. But he understood her fear. This was the proving, the test that every species had to pass before joining the Council. The test was simple. Design a weapon that could destroy a military base and break through its shields. Do it in 10 days or go home in shame. A figure materialized in front of them. It was tall, taller than any human and made entirely of living crystal. Light moved through its body in patterns that looked almost like thought. This was Rethenix, the test administrator. It had given this test to 300 species over the last 2,000 years. Humans of Earth. Rethenix's voice echoed through the chamber like wind chimes. "You stand before the Council as your ancestors once stood before their own gods, hoping, praying, knowing you are small." The crowd laughed. It was not a kind sound. Dae-jung felt his jaw tighten, but he kept his face calm. "The test is ancient," Rethenix continued. "You must design and build a weapon. This weapon must be capable of destroying a city-class shield generator and the military installation it protects. The installation is defended by automated systems and has armor 30 meters thick. Your weapon must do this from a distance of at least 100 kilometers. You have 10 solar rotations. Beginning now." The crowd began to talk among themselves. They had seen this many times before. Dae-jung raised his hand. "A question," he said. His voice was quiet, but it carried in the huge space. The chamber fell silent. No one ever asked questions during the proving. You were given a task. You completed it or you failed. That was all. Rethenix's crystal body flashed with surprise. "A question? There are no questions. The parameters are clear." "The parameters are clear," Dae-jung agreed. "But the purpose is not. I need to know. Is this weapon for defense against an aggressor? Or is it for the annihilation of those you consider enemies?" The silence grew heavier. Somewhere in the crowd, someone gasped. Tae-yang, the weapons specialist, allowed himself a small smile. The boss had just thrown a bomb into the carefully controlled test. "The distinction is irrelevant," Rethenix said, but for the first time the crystal being sounded uncertain. "The weapon's capability is what we measure. The purpose is simply to prove your technological advancement." "With respect," Dae-jung said, and his voice carried across the massive chamber to every listening ear. "The distinction is everything to us. A weapon for defense saves lives. A weapon for annihilation ends them. These are not the same thing." They require different designs, different thinking, different moral frameworks. Moral frameworks, Rethonics repeated the words as if tasting something bitter. You speak of morality in a test of power? How very primitive. The crowd laughed again, louder this time. But Daejong noticed something. Not everyone was laughing. Some of the older species, the ones who had been on the council the longest, were not making any sound at all. They were watching him with expressions he could not read. We are primitive, Daejong admitted. Our civilization is only 7,000 years old. We have barely left our own star system, but in those 7,000 years we learned something important. We learned that the ability to destroy is not the same as the wisdom to know when destruction is necessary. He looked around at the thousands of aliens watching him. So I ask again, Administrator Rethonics, what is the purpose of this weapon? Because that purpose will determine what we build. Rethonics' crystal body pulsed with colors that might have been anger. The purpose is to join the council. That is all you need to know. Begin your work or forfeit the test. The test administrator vanished, leaving the human team alone on the platform. The crowd began talking again, their voices rising in a wave of sound. Most of them thought the humans were fools. Some thought they were cowards looking for an excuse to fail. Jiwoo touched Daejong's arm. That was risky, she said quietly. We might have just failed the test before we even started. No, Daejong said, watching the aliens in the audience. We just changed the test. They wanted to measure our power. Now they'll have to measure our wisdom too. Sora, the team's psychologist, nodded slowly. You made them uncomfortable, good. Comfortable people don't think about what they're doing. They just follow the rules they've always followed. Can we actually pass this test? Sungmin asked. The tactical analyst looked worried. If we refuse to build what they want, they'll send us home. We're not refusing to build anything, Daejong said. We're just going to build it our way. Now let's get to work. We have 10 days to show the galaxy something they've never seen before. The team moved to their workstations. Around them, the crowd slowly filed out of the testing chamber. But Daejong noticed that some aliens stayed, watching from the shadows. They were curious now. The primitive humans had done something unexpected. And in a galaxy where everything had become predictable, unexpected things were dangerous. Or maybe, just maybe, they were exactly what the galaxy needed. The human work area was small compared to the massive testing chamber. 10 workstations arranged in a circle, each one filled with holographic displays and fabrication equipment. The council had provided everything the humans might need: metal, crystals, energy sources, advanced computing systems. Everything except answers. Jiwoo pulled up a design on her holographic screen. It showed a weapon that looked simple but deadly. A fusion reactor core surrounded by magnetic coils. When fired, it would create a beam of pure energy hot enough to melt through any shield. We could build this in 3 days, she said to Daejong. It meets all the parameters. Range, power, destructive capacity. The council would have to pass us. Daejong studied the design. It was elegant, efficient, and it would kill thousands of people with a single shot. Pull up Earth's history files, he said. Section 7. The 20th century. Jiwoo's face went pale as the images appeared. Cities burning. Mushroom clouds rising into the sky. Photographs of Hiroshima and Nagasaki after the atomic bombs fell. Children with melted skin. Buildings turned to shadows on the ground. We know how to destroy, Daejong said quietly. Humans are very good at it. We spent thousands of years perfecting the art of killing each other. Nuclear weapons. Chemical weapons. Biological weapons that could wipe out entire continents. He pulled up more files. The automation wars of 2087. We built AI weapons that hunted humans for sport. 3 billion people died in 18 months. We almost made ourselves extinct. Bora walked over to look at the screens. Her hands were shaking. I learned about this in school. The century of restoration. After the wars ended, we spent 100 years just trying to survive. The planet was dying. The atmosphere was poisoned. We came so close to the end. And then we made a choice, Daejong said. In 2156, every nation on Earth signed the Keeper's Accord. We cataloged every weapon. We studied every system. And we asked ourselves a question we should have asked centuries earlier. What are we protecting? Taeyang said, joining them. The weapons specialist knew the Keeper's Accord by heart. He had to memorize it to get his job. Every weapon must have a purpose. Every design must answer the question, what are we protecting? We could give the council something that would destroy their enemies easily, Jiwoo said. But is that what we want to be known for? The species that builds the best death machines. Hyun-woo, the linguist, had been working at his station all morning. Now he stood up and his face was troubled. I found something, he said. Something important. He projected his research onto the main screen. It was a database of all the species that had passed the proving. 847 different civilizations over 12,000 years. I cross-referenced each weapon design with the Council's military records, Hyun-woo explained. It took all night, but I found a pattern. Red lines appeared on the screen connecting weapons to military operations. The Keltari had designed disintegration weapons for the proving. 20 years later, those same weapons were used to attack the Sontari colonies. The Vex created quantum disruptors. The Council used them to crush rebellions in the outer reaches. 93%, Hyun-woo said. His voice was flat, emotionless. 93% of all weapons designed for the proving were later used in Council military operations. The team stared at the screen in silence. The implications were huge. They're not testing us, Jinho said slowly. The systems engineer looked sick. They're recruiting us. Every species that passes the test gives the Council a new weapon. A new way to enforce their will. It's brilliant in a horrible way, Sungmin added. The tactical analyst pulled up more data. Each species wants to join the Council. They want access to trade, technology, protection, so they design the most powerful weapon they can, and the Council takes it. We'd be complicit, Sora said. The psychologist's face was dark with anger. If we give them a weapon and they use it to hurt innocent people, we're responsible. We can't claim ignorance now. Hanul's communication console beeped. A message from Earth. The communications officer read it twice before speaking. It's from the unified government, she said. They've been monitoring our progress. They know about Daejung's question. They know about our research. What do they say? Daejung asked. Hanul's voice shook as she read. Do what you believe is right. We trust your judgment. Earth has been alone in the galaxy for its entire history. We can survive another 1,000 years of isolation if we must, but we cannot survive losing who we are. Make us proud. The weight of that message settled over the team. Earth was giving them complete freedom. No pressure to pass the test. No demands to compromise their values. Just trust. That's a lot of pressure, Yejin said. The communications specialist tried to smile, but it did not reach her eyes. It's not pressure, Daejung corrected her. It's freedom. They're not telling us what to do. They're letting us choose. He looked at his team. 9 faces, all of them tired, all of them scared. They had come so far. 3 months in space. 2 years of preparation before that. Their entire lives had been leading to this moment. Let's vote, he said. Option 1, we build a powerful weapon. We pass the test. Earth joins the Council. We gain access to advanced technology and galactic trade, but we give the Council another tool for oppression. He paused. Option 2, we refuse to build a weapon for annihilation. We try something different. We might fail the test. Earth stays isolated, but we keep our principles. There might be a third option, Taeyang said. The weapons specialist had been thinking hard. What if we build something that meets the technical requirements but refuses to kill? Explain, Daejung said. Taeyang pulled up a new design. The test says we need to neutralize a shield and destroy a military installation. It doesn't say we have to kill the people inside. What if we built a weapon that disables instead of destroys? Bora's eyes went wide. A stasis field. We could freeze the entire installation in time. The shield goes down, the base stops functioning, but nobody dies. They'd argue that doesn't meet the requirements, Jiwoo said. Destroy means destroy. Unless we redefine destroy, Hyun-woo said. The linguist smiled for the first time in hours. In 47 languages, the word for destroy can also mean to neutralize, to render powerless, to remove from effectiveness. It's about interpretation. Daejung felt something stirring in his chest. Hope, maybe? Or just the stubborn human refusal to accept impossible choices. We build 2 things, he said. A defensive system and a disabling weapon. One protects. One stops threats without killing. Both meet the technical requirements if we're clever about it. And if the Council rejects it? Sungmin asked. Then we fail with honor, Daejung said. But maybe, just maybe, we make them think. We force them to examine what they've been doing for 12,000 years. And that might be worth more than passing their test. The team looked at each other. No one spoke for a long moment. Then one by one they nodded. All right, Jiwoo said. Let's show them what humans can do. Not with death. With life, they got to work. The designs came together slowly at first, then faster as inspiration struck. A shield network that could protect entire cities, a disabling system that could stop weapons without destroying them, and underneath it all a philosophy. Every tool we create should serve life, not death. Outside their work area, the galaxy watched and waited. Most expected the humans to fail. Some hoped they would, but a very few, wondered what these strange primitive creatures might create. Because something was changing in the testing chamber, something that had not changed in 12,000 years. And change in a galaxy grown comfortable with its cruelty was the most dangerous weapon of all. On the 7th day, Dae-jung did something that had never been done before. He requested a meeting with the full council. The request caused chaos. In 12,000 years, no species had ever interrupted the proving to speak with the council. The test was sacred. You worked in silence. You presented your weapon on the 10th day. That was the rule. But Dae-jung had broken rules before. The council chamber was even larger than the testing area. It was shaped like an amphitheater, with seats rising in circles around a central platform. Representatives from 500 species filled the seats. Some were humanoid. Some were so alien that human eyes struggled to understand their shape. Rethenix materialized in front of the human team. The crystal being's light pulsed with irritation. This is unprecedented. You are wasting valuable time. We need to share our findings, Dae-jung said. He projected a holographic display for the entire council to see. We analyzed the database you provided. 847 species have passed the proving. We looked at what happened to their weapons afterward. The chamber fell silent. Some council members leaned forward. Others shifted uncomfortably in their seats. We found a correlation, Hyunwoo continued. The linguist pulled up charts and graphs. 93% of weapons designed for the proving were later deployed in military operations. Many of those operations targeted civilian populations. A roar of voices erupted through the chamber. Some species shouted in anger. Others tried to speak over each other. A few sat in stunned silence. This is outrageous. A Kelthari warrior stood up. His scales were dark red, the color of old blood. You accuse this council of crimes? You who have not even passed the test? We accuse no one, Dae-jung said calmly. We simply present facts. The proving is not a test of capability. It's conscription. You're not measuring our worth. You're expanding your arsenal. Rethenix's crystal body flashed bright red. You dare! Each species that joins the council gives you a new weapon, Dae-jung interrupted. You make them complicit in your power structure. They can't object to how their technology is used because they're part of the system now. It's elegant, it's efficient, and it's wrong. These are serious accusations, a soft voice said. An aquatic creature spoke from a tank of liquid. I am Counselor Vemus of the Nivari. We have served on this council for 3,000 years. Do you have proof of your claims? The proof is in your own records, Sungmin said. The tactical analyst projected military deployment data. The Kelthari disintegrators were used against the Sontari colonies. 43 billion casualties. The Vex quantum weapons destroyed the rebellion in the outer reaches. 15 planets sterilized, more voices rose. Some defended the actions. Those were necessary for galactic peace. Others remained silent, their faces troubled. Because we understand this pattern, Dae-jung said, we cannot give you a weapon designed for annihilation. We cannot be part of this cycle. Then you fail the test, Rethenix said. You will be sent home. Earth will remain isolated for another 1,000 years. Wait. Bora stepped forward. The scientist's hand shook, but her voice was steady. We said we cannot give you a weapon for annihilation. We never said we wouldn't give you anything. She activated a new holographic display. Earth wishes to join the galactic community. We want to trade, to learn, to share our culture. So we've designed something. 2 things, actually. The first design appeared. It looked like a web of light spreading across a planet's surface. The Aegis network, Bora explained. A defensive shield system. It can protect entire cities from bombardment. It can create safe zones during conflicts. It intercepts incoming weapons and neutralizes them. But it cannot be weaponized. Its architecture prevents offensive use. The second design appeared. This one showed a device that generated waves of purple energy. The Disabler Protocol, Taeyang said. It neutralizes weapons. It shuts down aggressive military systems. It creates temporary stasis fields around combatants. It renders enemies helpless but alive. It meets your technical parameters. but it refuses to kill. The council chamber erupted again. Half the species shouted that this was not acceptable. The other half demanded to see more. This is not a weapon, the Kelthari warrior roared. This is cowardice. One is for protection, Bo-Ra said quietly. The other is for stopping those who would harm the innocent. Neither is designed for annihilation. Both answer our question with clarity. You have failed the test, Rethenix declared. The proving requires a weapon of destruction, not these toys. Before you make that judgment, Taeyang said, there's something else you should know. He pulled up a third display. This one showed only theoretical specifications. No blueprints, no construction details, just numbers and equations that made several council members gasp. This is a reality manipulation device, Taeyang said. His voice was very quiet now. It can unmake matter at the quantum level. It could destroy planets, stars, entire regions of space. It makes your current arsenal look primitive. The chamber went absolutely silent. Even the Kelthari warrior sat down. Earth learned to build weapons that could end worlds, Taeyang continued. We nearly destroyed ourselves with that knowledge. But we survived. We learned. And now we choose not to share these designs with you. You're bluffing, Rethenix said, but the crystal being's voice lacked certainty. Check the math, Daijung said. You have some of the galaxy's best scientists. They'll tell you these equations are real. We could give you something that would make you gods of destruction. We choose not to. He looked around at the hundreds of alien faces. That choice is the real test. Not of our capability, but of our wisdom. You asked us to prove we were ready to join the galactic community. We're proving it. Not by showing you what we can destroy, but by showing you what we refuse to destroy. Restraint is not strength, the Kelthari warrior said, but he sounded less certain now. Restraint is the only true strength, Sora replied. The psychologist stepped forward. Any fool can pull a trigger. Any species can build a bigger bomb. But it takes real strength to have power and choose not to use it. That's what makes us human. That's what we're offering the Council. Councillor Vimis of the Nivari spoke again. I move that we debate this matter. The humans have raised important questions. Questions we should have asked ourselves long ago. Debate is for the council chamber, not the proving grounds, Rethenix said, but other voices joined Vimis. The debate had already begun. Jiwoo leaned close to Daejung. What happens now? She whispered. Now we wait, Daejung said. We've planted a seed. Let's see if it grows. The human team was escorted back to their work area. Behind them, the council chamber erupted into argument. Species that had been allies for millennia turned on each other. Old grievances surfaced. Questions that had been buried for thousands of years demanded answers. In the human work area, Hanul monitored the communications channels. We're all over the galactic news, she said. Half the species are calling us cowards. The other half are calling us revolutionaries. What are we? Yejin asked. Daejung looked at his team. They were tired. They were scared, but they were also proud. They had stood before the most powerful organization in the galaxy and spoken truth. We're human, he said simply. And right now that's exactly what the galaxy needs us to be. Outside in the vast corridors of Concordia Prime, aliens gathered in groups. They talked in hushed voices. They pulled up old records. They asked questions they had never asked before. The humans had done something dangerous. They had made the galaxy think. And thought, once started, is very hard to stop. The council had never been divided like this before. For 12,000 years, they had agreed on almost everything. They voted together. They enforced rules together. They maintained peace through overwhelming force, and no one questioned it. Until now. In the 3 days since the humans' presentation, the council had held 17 emergency sessions. They argued about the nature of the proving. They debated the use of weapons from past tests. They questioned decisions made thousands of years ago, and they could not agree on what to do about Earth. The humans mock our traditions. War Chief Theraxis slammed his fist on the council table. The Kelthari warriors' scales had turned dark with rage. They should be expelled immediately. Their technology should be seized. They should be quarantined until they learn respect. Perhaps, Councillor Vemi said from her liquid tank. The humans see what we have chosen to ignore. I reviewed the records. The Suntari colonies, the outer reaches, the rebellion on Thalax Prime. How many civilians died in those operations? Casualties of war, another councillor said. Regrettable but necessary. Were they? Vemis asked softly. Or did we have other options that we never considered because we had such powerful weapons available? The debate raged on. Some species stood firm with the Kelthari. Others began to question. A few remained silent, thinking thoughts they had never dared think before. In the human work area, Jinho monitored the Council's communications. He had set up a system to intercept encrypted transmissions. It was technically illegal, but Daejung had approved it. They needed to know what was happening. Factions are forming, Jinho reported. The militarist species support the Kelthari, but others are starting to ask questions. The Nivari, the Luminar Collective, the Terraphon Union, they want to know more about our restraint protocols. How many species are questioning? Daejung asked. About 40%, Jinho said. Not enough to change the vote, but enough to create real division. A soft chime announced visitors. The door opened and 5 aliens entered. They moved quietly, nervously. One was Nivari, her tank hovering on anti-gravity fields. The others were from species the humans did not recognize. We wish to speak with you, Counselor Vemis said. In private, Daejung gestured to seats. The aliens sat. Though some looked uncomfortable, secret meetings were not part of Council tradition. You spoke of restraint, Vemis began, of designing with ethics rather than just capability. My people suffered under Council peacekeeping operations 300 years ago. 20 billion Nivari died when the Council used Kelthari weapons to suppress our independence movement. Her voice carried old pain. We joined the Council afterward. We had no choice. But we never forgot. We want to know how your species learned to value life over power. Daejung pulled up Earth's history files. He did not hide the ugly parts. The wars, the genocides, the nuclear weapons, the AI that hunted humans for sport. We were monsters, he said simply. For thousands of years, we solved problems with violence. We built bigger weapons. We killed more efficiently. We almost made ourselves extinct. What changed? One of the other aliens asked. We hit bottom, Sora said. The psychologist pulled up images of Earth after the automation wars. Dead cities, poisoned oceans. A sky turned gray with ash. 3 billion people died. The survivors had to choose change or die. We chose to change. We created the Keeper's Accord, Taeyang explained. Every weapon system was cataloged. Every design had to answer 3 questions. What does this protect? Who could it harm? Is there a better way? And if you cannot answer those questions? Vemis asked. Then we don't build it, Daejung said. We have the knowledge to create weapons that could destroy solar systems. But we choose not to, because knowing how to destroy is not the same as knowing when destruction is necessary. The aliens listened in silence. They asked questions. They examined the human philosophy. They looked at the designs for the Aegis network and the Disabler protocol. This could change everything, one of them whispered. If species had access to these defensive systems, they would not need to rely on the Council for protection. That's the idea, Jiwoo said. Protection should not require submission. The aliens left after 2 hours. They promised nothing. But their eyes held something that had not been there before. Hope, maybe. Or the dangerous seed of rebellion. That night, Yejin intercepted an encrypted transmission. Her face went pale as she decoded it. We have a problem, she said. A big one. The team gathered around her station. On the screen was a transmission between Rethinix and a group of senior council members. The Kelthari, the Vex, 3 other militant species. They're planning to use the punishment protocols, Yejin said. If a species fails the proving, their home system gets quarantined for 1,000 years. But there's a hidden clause in the quarantine system. She pulled up technical specifications. The quarantine field can be modified. Instead of just blocking travel, it can be weaponized. It creates a prison that nothing can escape. Not ships, not signals, not even light. They want to trap Earth, Sungmin said. The tactical analyst's voice was flat. Make an example of us. Show other species what happens when you question the Council. Can we warn Earth? Hanul asked. Not without alerting the Council, Yejin said. All our communications are monitored. If we send a warning, they'll know we intercepted their transmissions. They might activate the weapon immediately. The team sat in silence. Everything they had worked for was crumbling. They had hoped to change minds. Instead, they had made enemies. When do they plan to activate it? Daejung asked. Tomorrow, Yejin said. During the final vote, they'll declare we failed the proving. Then they'll activate the quarantine before Earth can respond. We need a new plan, Jiwoo said. Something they won't expect. Daijung stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the stars glittered cold and distant. Somewhere out there was Earth. Home. 7 billion people who were depending on them. We can't fight them, he said. We don't have weapons. We don't have allies. All we have is the truth. The truth hasn't helped us so far, Hyunwoo said. No, Daejung agreed. But maybe we haven't shown them the right truth yet. He turned back to his team. The Council has been using weapons to maintain power for 12,000 years. They understand force. They understand threats, but I don't think they understand something else. What? Bora asked. Consequences, Daejung said. They've never had to face the consequences of their actions. They use weapons and the victims disappear. Out of sight, out of mind. But what if we made them see? What if we showed them exactly what their weapons do? Taeyang's eyes widened. The testing chamber. We have one more day before the final vote. We could request a demonstration. A demonstration of what? Sungmin asked. We haven't built anything. We don't need to build anything, Daejung said. A plan was forming in his mind. It was risky. It might fail, but it was better than doing nothing. We just need to show them the truth. Not with words, with reality. The team worked through the night. They pulled data. They created simulations. They prepared something that had never been shown in the testing chamber before. Not a weapon demonstration. A history lesson, but one that the Council would never forget. The testing chamber was full again. Every seat occupied, every species represented. The word had spread quickly. The humans had requested a demonstration. This would be their final attempt before the Council voted. Rithonics materialized in the center of the chamber. The crystal being's light pulsed with barely controlled anger. You have wasted enough of the Council's time. This demonstration had better be worth it. It will be, Daejung promised. We want to show you something about weapons. About conflict. About the choices that face every civilization. Sungmin activated the testing chamber's holographic systems. The entire chamber transformed. They were no longer in a sterile testing environment. They were floating in space, watching a distant planet. This is a simulation, Sungmin explained, based on real events from Council history. 300 cycles ago, the Kelthari-Sontari conflict, War Chief Thraxis stood up. This is an outrage. That conflict is classified. The data is in the public archives, Hyunwoo said calmly. We simply compiled it into a visual format. The simulation began. The planet below was beautiful. Blue oceans, green continents, clouds swirling in white patterns. This was Santara Prime, homeworld of the Santari species. The Santari demanded independence from Council resource extraction programs, Sungmin narrated. They were not violent. They simply refused to comply with quotas they considered unfair. The simulation showed ships arriving, Council peacekeeping forces, Kelthari warships carrying the disintegration weapons that species had designed for their proving. The Santari activated defensive shields around their cities, Sungmin continued. They had no offensive weapons, only defenses. What happened next was shown in horrifying detail. The Kelthari weapons fired. The shields held for 3 seconds. Then they failed. Cities vanished. Not destroyed, simply erased from existence. 43 billion lives ended in 16 minutes. The chamber was silent. Many of the Council members had known about the Santari conflict, but they had never seen it like this. The simulation was too real, too detailed, too honest. This is propaganda, Thraxis roared, but his voice shook. This is history, Daejung said. Now let us show you an alternative. The simulation reset. The same planet, the same ships, but this time something different appeared. The Aegis network spread across Santara Prime like a web of light. When the Kelthari weapons fired, the Aegis absorbed the energy, redirected it. The cities remained standing. With proper defensive technology, the Santari could have protected themselves, Bora explained. The Council could have negotiated, found a peaceful solution. But there was no peaceful option when one side had overwhelming destructive power, and the other had nothing. The simulation continued. It showed the disabler protocol being used instead of weapons of annihilation. The aggressive military systems shut down, ships frozen in temporary stasis. A conflict ended without a single death. This is fantasy, someone in the audience said. War is not so clean. You're right, Jiwoo said. War is never clean. But it can be less bloody. It can prioritize life over death. The question is whether we choose to make it so. The simulation shifted again. This time it showed a different scenario. An attack on Earth. Ships appeared in the sky, firing weapons of unimaginable power. The human defenses activated. The Aegis network protected the cities. The disabler protocol stopped the attackers. Even in defense of our own existence, Jiwoo continued, we would choose to disable rather than destroy. Because every enemy is still a living being. Every soldier has a family, a home, a right to life. She paused. The simulation showed the enemy ships disabled but intact. Their crews alive, captured, not killed. But we are not naive, Jiwoo said. Her voice turned cold. If pushed to the absolute edge, if the choice is truly between human extinction and the use of ultimate force, we have that capability. The simulation changed one final time. It showed Earth's theoretical reality manipulation weapon, not in detail, just enough to demonstrate its power. A star flickered and died, a planet unmade at the quantum level, reality itself torn apart. We could build this, Jiwoo said. We have the knowledge. We have the capability. We choose not to, because we learned something that the Council has forgotten. Sora stepped forward. The greatest weapon is not the one that destroys most efficiently. It's the one you never have to use, because its existence and your restraint in wielding it creates a deterrent based on respect rather than fear. The simulation ended. The testing chamber returned to normal, but the images lingered in every mind. The Centauri cities vanishing, the alternative where they survived, the terrible power that humans possessed but refused to use. Councillor Vimy spoke into the silence. I move that we vote immediately on the human application. We should also vote on reforming the proving itself, another councillor added. This was a luminar, a species made of pure thought. The humans have shown us that our traditions may have become corrupted. This is madness, Thraxus shouted. You would throw away 12,000 years of tradition because of one species' moral posturing? Not madness, Rethenix said. The test administrator's voice was different now, quieter, thoughtful. Perhaps wisdom. Perhaps something we should have considered long ago. The vote was called. The chamber filled with light as each species cast their decision. Green for approval, red for rejection. The light swirled together like a galaxy being born. When it settled, the result was clear. Not unanimous, but a majority. 62% approval. Earth has passed the proving, Rethenix announced, by demonstrating not just technological capability but philosophical wisdom. Welcome to the Galactic Council. The human team stood in silence. They had done it. Against all odds they had passed. But Rethenix was not finished. Furthermore, I propose the Concordia Reformation. The proving will be changed. Future applicants must design both a weapon and a comprehensive ethical framework for its use. They must answer the question that humanity posed. For defense or for annihilation? Another vote. This one was closer. 54% approval. But it passed. Not all species accepted this. The Kelthari walked out. 3 other militant species followed them. They would form their own alliance. Their own compact based on the old ways. The galaxy was more fractured than before. But perhaps Daejung thought that was necessary. A wound must be opened before it can heal. In the days that followed, something remarkable happened. Species began sharing not just weapons technology, but ethical frameworks. The Niveri contributed their meditation protocols for decision-making in conflict. The Luminar offered probability engines that modeled long-term consequences of violent action. Earth provided the Keeper's Accord. A new philosophy emerged. Every weapon must be matched by an equally sophisticated system of restraint. Power without wisdom is not strength. It's just danger. Rethonix offered Daejung a position on the Reformed Proving Committee, the first human ever appointed to a council position. I'll accept, Daejung said. On one condition. We continue asking difficult questions. We never stop examining whether our actions serve protection or oppression. Agreed, Rethenix said. The crystal being's light pulsed with something that might have been respect. Humans are uncomfortable, annoying, challenging. But perhaps that is what this council needs. The human team prepared to return home. Their ship waited in the docking bay. Earth was 3 months away. They would return as heroes, the first humans to join the Galactic Council. But first they gathered one last time in their work area. Looking out at the stars, do you think it will last? Jiwoo asked. This reformation? Daejung watched the stars stream past the window. Every civilization has to keep choosing wisdom over power. Earth learned that lesson by nearly destroying ourselves. Maybe we've helped others learn it through different means. We didn't give them new weapons, Hanyul said quietly. We gave them new questions. And that, Daejung replied, might be the most dangerous and most hopeful thing we could have shared. Back on Earth, the unified government received the full report. In classified archives deep beneath the planet's surface, the theoretical specifications for the reality manipulation weapon were sealed in the deepest vault humanity had ever constructed. Only 10 people knew the vault's location. Only 5 knew the access codes. And all of them understood that the weapon inside must never be built. The vault door bore a simple inscription, written in every human language and translated into galactic standard. This represents what we can do. That we chose not to represents who we are. As the human ship left Concordia Prime, Daejung looked back one last time. The massive station sparkled in the darkness. Inside, species from across the galaxy were learning to ask new questions. Learning to value wisdom alongside power. It was not perfect. It would never be perfect. The Kelthari and their allies would cause problems. Old hatreds would resurface. Violence would still occur. But the trajectory had changed. And sometimes Daejung thought that was enough. Not a sudden transformation, but a slow bending of the arc toward something better. Course set for Earth, the pilot announced. The ship jumped to faster-than-light speed. Stars blurred. The galaxy rushed past. And somewhere in that vast darkness humanity had planted a seed. The seed of a simple idea. That the ability to destroy is not the same as the wisdom to know when destruction is necessary.